right, good morning, guys. This is Sunday, January 29th, 2017. Welcome to the Liberty and Freedom Show. Of course, I got Liberty and Freedom right here, along with Bertha behind me, as always. In the gallery today, as usual, is Tom the Bear. How you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing good, Lee.
Excellent. We also have Ty, our resident gunsmith. How's it going today, Ty?
Doing excellent.
All right, let's get started with the show. So, guys, I think that Trump has done more in his first week in office than the last four presidents did in the last 28 years. What do you think about that? Ty, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the first day coming in there, signing executive orders about basically, the big topics, immigration, everything, right off the bat like that. I mean, just more leadership and follow through than anybody else. Right off the bat, even before he was president, he saved a lot of jobs here in Indy by coming out and making deals with some of them. I mean, I just already more to it. What did Obozo do? Create more jobs in the IRS?
Exactly. Tom, what are your thoughts?
No, I'm actually really excited to see all this come about. You know, he's wasting no time. He's getting moving, and not only that, it's about the topics he said he was going to work on immediately. So again, he's showing that he's going to keep his word to the American people. He is taking action on the things that got him into office to begin with.
Which again is something that's amazing, just because look at all the other campaign slogans Obama talked about. I mean, even for him, he led off with "Let's end the war in Iraq," this unjust war. That was one of his main campaign things. Now, when he's pushing that all the time, it was, well, let's bring them out today. That's what he would say. And then what happened? Another 6 months, another this, and then he always had excuses for it. And then he winds up, putting another 5,000 troops there eventually before his drawdown, which we all know turned into a mess anyway.
Well, and you're exactly correct, Ty. And here's the thing. We all know that Obama was a complete lie. I mean, everything about him was a lie. Every word out of his mouth was a lie. And so now we have a president who's actually working for the people. And let's lead into, so a lot's happened this past week. He's been in office for a little more than a week now. A lot's been going on. The first thing I want to talk about is this whole issue with, we'll start with Chicago, a couple of things with Chicago. And I want to go back to something from the last episode that we talked about, which was the fact that Chicago had the highest murder rate last year. We aren't even through January, and they're already on track the first month of the year to set a new record this year. And it's only the first month. And so Trump has tweeted out that he's telling Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, get your act together, I'm going to send in the feds. Now, as I mentioned in a previous show, we don't need the feds. We don't need more federal money. We don't need more federal people. What we need is to arm the citizenry. You want to do something? Take that money you were going to pay those federal officers and roll in a couple of semis of Glocks and hand them out to everybody who's of legal age, who passes a background check. Give them training. I'm all about training. You don't just hand somebody a gun, but arm the citizenry. Let them protect themselves. That's the way to go.
Well, I mean, what I was thinking about that is first of all, I like the fact that Trump is saying, giving the elected officials there locally an opportunity to get their crap together. I agree. I don't know about having the feds provide guns, but I still think that the best way to protect yourself is to be armed and obviously get training, like you said, and stop relying on somebody else to do it for you. I think it's everybody's right to defend themselves, and they need to go out there and become self-reliant again.
Yeah, that's the point I agree on, absolutely. we're talking about an area that already has very restrictive gun laws and everything. It's hard for anyone to protect themselves. So they are reliant on the government coming in for that protection, which isn't doing anything. I mean, sanctuary cities, I know we're getting into some of that later, being a kind of a breeding ground for this sort of thing, for the higher murder rates and everything. So the fact that he's saying we're going to come in there and do something about this, I'm not sure about the whole giving them guns either, but I mean that is a start. I mean, or at the very least, lessening some of the restriction. Because the people going, oh well, we're not going to have. There's a possibility we're either going to have them come in, or they're going to defund. That was not what what they call it, the executive order was about. Possibly defunding some of their
The
federal.
Yes, the executive order is about defunding them over sanctuary cities, and we'll get to that in just a minute.
Oh, okay.
Let me be clear about something. I'm not saying just randomly hand out guns to people.
Right.
Any legally armed, any legal citizen age 21 or older who passes a background check, and I believe that they should get training, even if they pass the background check. Give them 8 hours of training, 4 hours of training, give them an understanding of how they use their gun, and arm the citizenry. Things will settle out very quickly if we do that. That's what I'm proposing. I know that's not going to happen. I know Trump's not going to do that, but you know what? That's what needs to be done. Anybody 21 or older who passes a background check, give them 4 to 8 hours of training, make sure they know how to handle a gun, they know the safety rules, they understand all of the idiosyncrasies that come with owning and carrying a firearm, and there you go. And you're absolutely correct. Chicago, despite the fact that the state of Illinois has made it legal to carry concealed and to own a gun, Chicago's passed all of these regulations that restrict them. And it's time for Trump to tell them, hey, you know what? Forget that. And that leads into what you were talking about, federal money with sanctuary cities. So that's the next thing let's talk about. And what's really interesting is, so Priebus, the chief of staff, I guess that's his title, is saying in the article, I've got it right here, if you defy the laws of this country, you shouldn't receive federal tax dollars. Well, how about if you defy the laws of our country, you get prosecuted and go to jail? You're harboring criminals. It is an illegal act to be in this country without proper documentation, without going through the proper process. These are criminals just by the fact that they're here and they didn't come here through the proper process. So yes, they shouldn't get federal money. And frankly, I would love to see Trump arrest Rahm Emanuel for harboring criminals.
Yeah, and I mean, I would agree with you. I think that and you and I have talked about this quite a bit, where we're kind of tired of people getting away with blatantly breaking the law because they're in politics. I agree that needs to happen at some point, is to start taking action against the people that basically choose to ignore the laws, even though they're in a position of power that are supposed to help enforce the laws. So I definitely agree, but I like this as a first step. I like this coming from Trump saying, hey, if you're going to be harboring these people for whatever reason, you know what? We're going to stop helping you. Let them run over, and then we'll send the feds in when it gets out of control. I think it's a good first step to kind of try to get to that. This is kind of like the warning. This is like the shot across the bow type thing. If you don't start respecting our laws, something's coming down.
Ty, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I mean, just the fact that to pull the federal funding for law enforcement and everything in an area where people are very reliant on that is sort of putting some teeth into the thing. I do agree, though, with you, Lee, that arresting criminals and deporting criminals, none of this catch and release kind of stuff. Just that's the way it needed to be. They already broke our laws. I agree with that, enforcing the law. But just the fact that he's going to put a little bit of teeth into it, I do like that about the restriction.
Yes, and Tom, to your point that you made, why is it that people in political office get away with committing the crimes? They're harboring criminals, people, and I'm not just talking the illegals that commit more serious crimes. They're harboring people who have come to this country illegally, who have not gone through the proper process. Why do they get a pass? Rahm Emanuel is specifically harboring these criminals. Why does he get a pass and not get arrested? That's got to stop. That's a whole other thing. We've talked about Hillary and all of her crimes and why she gets a pass. So we'll see how that plays out. Exactly. And I agree. Cut off the money, and that's a great place to start. The showdown's going to happen in San Francisco. It's going to happen in LA. It's going to happen in New York. It'll be fun to see what happens in New York because that's where Trump is from.
Yep. Just to kind of add on to that, I mean, you and I both know that as a citizen, if we're aware that somebody was going to commit a crime and did nothing to try and stop it, we would be, an accessory, right? Either, because we did not report it, we are also get in trouble for doing that. So why is it that a political person doesn't have the same kind of consequence when they decide to ignore one of our laws?
Well, I think it's because they've lost. They lose their like I do a lot here. They lose their focus. Their focus should be on the American people, not on people coming in and breaking our laws, not on the ones that they're pushing. But that's what it really boils down to is they lose their focus on what their true being the American people. But the left has this rhetoric that it's just something different.
And that goes back to something I said in a prior episode, which is we have this reversal, right, in our country. It's the federal government thinks they're at the top, and then it's the states, and then it's the counties and the municipalities, and then it's law enforcement, and then it's all the rest of us people. And that's flipped. All of those other entities should be serving the American people and what's right for the American people and we as American citizens. Now, I don't have a problem with people coming to this country legally through the proper process and being vetted. And we'll talk about that. That's one of the executive orders that Trump signed this week was extreme vetting of the Syrian refugees. Because these aren't Syrian refugees. They're not mom, dad, and some kids who want a better life. These are single young Muslim men who want to destroy our country. And that's who Obozo was shipping into the country. And so I was really excited to see him sign that executive order. What we need now is we need Congress to pass a law to back that up because in 4 or 8 years, however long Trump has in office, the next president can come in and reverse that executive order. So we need law behind it. Not that our politicians have really been obeying the law up to this point, and that obviously gives it some weight. Okay, so let's move on to, I was very excited about this. So Breitbart published an article. I'll post a link down below of all the topics we're talking about here for our audience. Breitbart published a article talking about the Trump administration is going to publish crimes committed by illegal aliens in sanctuary cities. And they're going to put this out every week. I am extremely excited about this because it's going to bring to the forefront what should have been going on all along, which is all of the various crimes that illegals are committing here in our country, and especially in these sanctuary cities. There was the lady, I forget her name, a couple years ago, an illegal who had been deported 5 times, just randomly shot this woman on the pier down in San Francisco or out in San Francisco, killed her. We all know with the shooting with the DPS officer here a couple weeks ago in Arizona, that was an illegal here in the country. So we know this goes on. We hear about the much more horrific happenings, right? And I'm very excited about this, that they're going to be publishing this on a regular basis to bring this to the forefront.
Yeah, no, I was actually kind of excited about that article as well. Exactly what you said. It starts bringing the negative aspects of having illegals and having these sanctuary cities, brought to light. Everybody sees the humanitarian aspect of immigration, the human rights aspects of immigration or illegal immigration. Yeah, sure, we want good people to come to this country, become hardworking Americans, and so forth and so on. But again, you're also letting in so much bad in this attempt to be good that it's actually causing more problems. And I absolutely agree with letting the American people know what's going on because they decide to operate this way. I think it's a great idea to bring to light what they're allowing for the thought of a good action.
And that just something that just came to me while you were talking that I wanted to mention is not only we often have heard about illegal Mexicans, Hispanics that are committing these crimes, right? And this will bring to light the crimes that all of these Muslim immigrants are committing. Now, the Muslim immigrants, I guess they're not technically illegal because they were allowed in the country legally, although I would claim that they are illegal because they did not go through the proper process to get into the country. However, here's the thing. You want to come to America, you need to do it through the legal process, and you need to assimilate. Assimilation, not capitulation. We should not be capitulating to these people. And I'm going to transition into the next topic. There's this big push to, have Sharia law take over and this whole capitulation to the Islamic way of life. And so that leads into the next topic, which is Madeleine Albright came out, the former Secretary of State back in the Clinton years, saying that she was going to register as Muslim. Well, first of all, I didn't realize that there was a registry. As far as I know, there is no registration. Second, she either knows exactly what she's doing when she says this, or she's completely insane. We've talked about this before. As a woman in the Islamic world, you are treated worse than animals. Matter of fact, animals are probably treated better than you are. It's ridiculous. I mean, for her to say this, and then I'm not even going to give them airtime, but I don't know if you've seen, there are several stars, TV stars, movie stars, who have started to come out and say that, female stars, by the way, who have come out and started to say that they are going to identify as Muslim, which baffles me to no end. You're going to get treated worse than you ever thought possible. So, thoughts on that?
Oh, what was it? My thoughts on that. I think the link was broken to that article, so I didn't follow up on that or read up on it enough. But it's ridiculous that she would say that or join that. It's like these people that decided to leave and go fight for the Taliban and get killed or have to scrub or it's just ridiculous that they're going to identify with that when they don't even know what that means. They don't. Were they all wearing the proper attire when they made that statement?
No, Madeleine Albright was not in the burqa. She wasn't wearing a hijab, and that's exactly correct. I mean, if you want to identify and you want to become Muslim, I'll tell you what: get on a plane, fly yourself as a single woman to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and try to get off the plane. They're going to arrest you because you're not with a man. You're not in a burqa completely covered. They will probably, at the very least, beat you and most likely just kill you, dump your body, and never be heard of again. So for her to identify as Muslim is absolutely ridiculous. And here's the point I wanted to make. If you do any kind of investigation of the Quran, Islam is completely incompatible with our way of life, with the Western world. It is unbelievably, extremely opposite of what we would call liberty and freedom here in America. And for these women, no less, to want to identify as being Islamic or Muslim is the dumbest thing in the world. They have no understanding of what they're talking about and how they're going to get treated once they identify as being Muslim.
Yeah, no, when I read that article, I was thinking, it's obvious to me that she does not grab the concept of what it actually means to be a Muslim. There's a difference between being a Muslim in the U.S. where you're not actually being persecuted or judged or anything like that by everyone else around you. There's a big difference between the Muslims here in the U.S. and those Muslims that are actually abroad. They're they don't have the same freedoms out there that they do here. So by all means, register as a Muslim, but go over there and fight for those rights. You as far as I'm concerned, you can register as a Muslim, whatever, but don't complain about this country that has it so good. Go over there, fight for those rights over there, change the world, but realize that it's not the same thing that you have here. This is very good here. And I'm not saying that we as American people are perfect. We might judge people by the way they look or whatever the case may be. But we're not chopping anybody's head off because of it or anything like that, or torturing them, or treating them like animals. So by all means, though, go fight for those rights just where it actually would make a difference, not here.
Well, I think she's trying to make trying to make Trump look stupid, or trying, I don't know what that whole rhetoric is, why she's trying to push that or say, like, well, I guess I'm gonna register and you're gonna deport me. Look at me, I'm so successful and speak for women's rights and all this, and yet, claiming that from a woman or a group of women that don't have any rights, like you said, treated worse than animals. You'd have to go there and fight for women's rights over there. Good luck with that.
And excellent point, Ty. And here's what I want to point out. For any liberal that might watch our show, which I can't imagine they will, just because we believe in liberty, freedom, and our right to own and carry guns, right? And look up Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's chief of staff. Her mother is the foremost Islamic advocate of circumcising women, female genital mutilation. She is the foremost advocate for that. Her parents are what we would call radical Islamics. Ironically, it's been speculated that her and Hillary are, partners and, lovers, but still, regardless of that fact, this woman and her parents are extremists to the fullest extent. And you're a woman in America and you want to identify with that, you're completely crazy as far as I'm concerned. That's just absolutely nuts.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what really proves, which makes me just laugh when someone talks about Hillary Clinton just being such a powerful or strong woman standing up for any woman's rights, right? It's ridiculous because if she's going to be, I don't know about the whole, lovers with Huma Abedin or anything, but just even putting her in helping with campaign, just, that position, again, knowing her mother is it's the female version of the Muslim Brotherhood or Muslim Sisterhood or something like that she's a part of. And yeah, that sort of a mutilation. I mean, where does that come into it? That you agree with this sort of thing? I mean, it just proves that she's crazy. She's insane.
And it proves that they obviously have not done any research. As I said, there's been some other TV stars and movie stars, female TV stars and movie stars that have come out that are now saying they're going to identify as Muslim, which obviously they've done absolutely no research. They've done no homework. They have not educated themselves. And switching gears here just a little bit on this same topic, what I want to point out too is that I'm very excited about is that Trump signed an executive order basically restricting all immigration of Muslims and Syrian refugees from the Middle East. We're going to now do extreme vetting, which I think is absolutely perfect. These people want to kill us. They want to destroy our way of life. And we need to know who's coming in and what they're about. So on to the next topic. Let's see here. So we talked about Madeleine Albright. Okay. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is this teacher, Payal Modi. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, if I'm doing that right. Payal, Payal Modi. She's a Texas high school arts teacher. And there is video of her using a squirt gun, pointing it at a video of Donald Trump, apparently simulating wanting to kill him.
A teacher in Dallas, Texas has been suspended after she was caught showing her students President Trump's inauguration and then shooting a squirt gun at the television screen and screaming, "Die!" in front of the students. Die! The 8-second video was posted on Instagram on January 20th, Inauguration Day, showing the lunatic pretending to assassinate President Trump. Before I put out a report and claimed that it was a, quote, teacher, I wanted to verify that it was because I thought maybe it's possible that it's a group of college kids having a viewing party, a bunch of liberal lunatics, and it was just a college student carrying out their assassination fantasies, but no, the initial reports are true. It is a teacher. This from today's Dallas News. Dallas IDS suspends Adamson teacher over faux assassination of Trump with water gun. A Dallas IDS teacher has been placed on administrative leave by the district for posting of a video on social media that shows her shooting a water gun at an image of President Trump and yelling, "Die!" in the classroom. Die! A school board member in Pennsylvania at Crawford Central posted on her social media account that in order to make America great, it would take a, quote, clean headshot, insinuating that Trump should be assassinated. When confronted about this asinine post, instead of apologizing or deleting it, she defended it. ABC News, always broadcasting crap. School board member defends clean headshot Trump posts. Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't just one, it was multiple posts. Recently, there was also a Secret Service member who posted on her social media account that she would not take a bullet for Trump, that she would let him die and go to jail. You heard me correct, not just an ordinary liberal lunatic, a Secret Service member. Not only just thinking these things, not just discussing them amongst close friends in the privacy of one's home, but posting it on Facebook. Donald Trump hasn't even been president for a week yet, and the Trump phobia and the celebrity psychosis, Trump derangement syndrome continues to spread at an unprecedented level. Will the madness ever end, or is this the beginning of the zombie apocalypse? I'm Mark Dice, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new and check back here every day for new reports, and I'll see you soon.
The good news is that it's my understanding the Secret Service has been notified. They are investigating. Now, can you imagine that if any of us that believe in liberty and freedom and our gun rights, if we had done this, how quickly we would have been not only contacted by the Secret Service, but probably arrested? As far as I know, she's on paid administrative leave. Why they're still paying her, who knows? She's not teaching at this point, and it's outrageous. It's completely outrageous. Your thoughts on that, Ty?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely ridiculous. I can't even really fathom that. How do you? Well, here's a point. You're right. Like they get all bent out of shape over something, and yet it's do as I say, not as I do, sort of a mentality with the liberals. It's perfectly fine for a liberal to go to the nth degree to strong arm their side of things, and yet when it's us, it's something completely different. So here, this person has a squirt gun pointing it at the president of the United States, whereas when a very liberal school has a kid show up that cuts out a picture of a gun in a paper, a magazine, or just brings a bubble gun to school, they want people there. They've even held like a 7-year-old kid for 5 hours being interrogated for talking about a bubble gun. And yet it's so,
Yes. Yes, it's the hypocrisy of the left. We're tolerant of your view as long as you agree with us. And the minute you stop agreeing with us, we're no longer tolerant of you. And
Right.
if anybody had done this when Obozo was in office, they would have been crucified. They'd be in jail right now. No, I mean, they would probably just disappear and they would be gone. It's absolutely ridiculous to think
Absolutely.
that any of us would have gotten away with that when it was when Obozo was in office. And I'm very happy to see that the Secret Service is involved, that apparently they're pursuing the investigation with this woman. You know what? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You don't get to get away with this just because you're liberal and you claim your rights. And we don't want your liberalist agenda. Tom, your thoughts on that?
No, I'm basically with you guys. I mean, if it was just you and me, obviously we would be, I mean, scrutinized like there was no tomorrow. But I am glad that at least she was put on administrative leave. Not only that, I mean, for nothing else, this is a person who is influencing our younger people, right? Who will someday become voters and stuff like that. And I personally don't want a teacher educating, like, for example, my children saying, hey, it's all right if you do it this way jokingly because you're a liberal. And yet if you're an armed citizen, all of a sudden you get considered a terrorist because you're plotting some kind of big attack on the president. So I like the fact that at least there was some action taken. I definitely think that it should be a little bit tougher, just because, like you said, you and I would probably be under scrutiny.
Well, I'll add one other thing to that. The sad part is if I had a video or anybody, much less any kids involved, of me pointing anything even resembling a gun at a video of Obama during some speech, not only would I be investigated and probably carted off, they'd also wonder if it was a hate crime.
Yeah. Yeah, all of a sudden you'd be labeled, like you'd be called again.
Yeah.
Well, we have been being called for the last 8 years. We're the deplorable, racist, xenophobic people, right? That's what we are if we do the same thing. And if this other person does it, oh, she's just exercising her right. Yeah, okay.
Right. But they want to paint that picture that people who believe in the Second Amendment and are, for freedom and carrying arms, they want to paint them as that, as that intolerant people.
And so that leads me into something that I heard somebody say this week, and I've kind of come up with my own little phrase here, so I've got it written down. So, suck it up, buttercups. Trump is the president, and I'm one of the well-armed and well-trained deplorables that voted for him. So, we had to endure 8 years of Obozo.
Guilty.
Exactly. Suck it up, buttercups. That's my new phrase. And you know what? Be well-armed, be well-trained, and tell these people to suck it up. Yeah, you don't like it. Well, guess what? I didn't like 8 years of somebody trying to take away all my rights.
And everything we fought for.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I mean, obviously I saw that suck it up, buttercup thing. Now, I mean, I want to be clear. I voted for Trump. I helped get him in. I'm not saying I didn't. You know what? And I'm not saying that he's going to be perfect, but he was a better option if you ask me. He's not part of the establishment, so quite honestly, as far as I'm concerned, whether he's going to end up being a good president in the long term or a bad president, I have no idea. To be honest, I have no idea. But I am hoping that he does well, and that's all that we can do now. he is our president, whether you like it or not, whether you voted for him or not. He is our president. So this wanting him to fail or do something stupid on Twitter just to create more media, buzz. It's stupid. What we need to do is support him. So I mean that's what I'm going to try to do. And kind of to your point there, Lee, I saw another one. Some liberals have been called snowflakes, and I saw a post that somebody said, don't call us snowflakes or winter is coming. And I started laughing because I was like, go ahead, bring it.
Right, exactly. And that leads to a clip that I'll roll in right now.
We can't just do rallies. We have to fight back. There will be casualties on both sides. There will be, because people have to die to make a change in this world.
And so this woman is talking about that there's going to be casualties on both sides. She's marching. She's Hispanic. I think she's marching for the rights of illegals here in the country. And I'm not saying that we should be treating illegal immigrants in a very bad way. They've committed a crime. They should not be in the country. They need to leave. However, what she said in this video clip we just saw, there's going to be casualties on both sides. No, sorry, darling, there's not going to be casualties on both sides because we are heavily armed and you are not. So there's only going to be casualties on one side, and that's your side, because you're not armed. You're not well trained. We are. And that's what is just ridiculous. And I believe it was Patton, correct me if I'm wrong. The goal is not to die for your cause. The goal is to make the other man die for his. And you know what? We're not out trying to kill anybody. That is not what we're doing. We're here for liberty and freedom for all American citizens. American citizens. However, if you want to have a confrontation with us, you're going to lose because we're well armed and we're well trained. There will not be casualties on our side. There will only be casualties on your side.
Yeah, if there are casualties on both sides, it's probably because they actually start partnering up with the real deplorables, right? Those illegal immigrants that are actually, being criminals here. That's the only way that there would be casualties on both sides, is if they start partnering up with them, and they become the quote unquote armed force of this movement. That's the only way that I could see that happening.
There's a scary thought.
Well, it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think that things are probably going to end up getting worse before they get better, and there will be a lot of uprising by the illegals, by a lot of Hispanics maybe that are here legally or that were born here and are American citizens. And that's my thing. If you're an American citizen, you're an American first. I'm not saying you got to get rid of your culture. I'm not saying you can't observe your cultural holidays and rituals and customs. And you're an American first. It's about America first, Americans first. That's the big thing. We are not Hispanic. We are not Islamic. We are not German. We're not French. We're not English. We are Americans. And it's America first. That's my big issue here. Assimilation, not capitulation. We're not going to capitulate to what you want to have done. All right. Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about today?
You don't have a First Amendment right if you don't have the Second Amendment.
All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone who's watching. This has been the Liberty and Freedom Show. It's brought to you by my website, twogunmojo.com. And remember, if you need any type of gunsmithing or any other gun work, Ty is your man. Just go to our website, twogunmojo.com. Link is down below. Click on the Contact Two Gun Mojo at the top left of the page and use that contact form. Send us information about any kind of gunsmithing services you're looking for, and Ty will get back to you. Make sure you give us your contact information. Gentlemen, thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.